Welcome to another edition of Sideline Sports. I'm Jake, along with John, and Eric is back again with us for another show. Eric, how you doing?
I'm well, gentlemen. Thank you for having me back on. Always appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. John, I'll start with you. I'll throw it to you. We got a lot to cover. Where do we want to start this week?
I guess we could probably start with Jokic real quick, and then jump into the NFL since that's the only non-NFL
Yeah,
thing that we really have.
Before that, I had a brain fart. I literally just said 2 minutes ago,
Sponsor.
before we go live, I go, we'll do that, and then we'll get into it. And I'm like, all right, this is great. We're starting the show. Complete brain fart. Didn't even think about it. Score No Score, our sponsor, just mentioned that real quick. Obviously, thank you to Eric. Not this Eric. Funny enough, it's a different Eric that we work with. The creator of Score No Score. We work closely with him all the time. I'll put this up on the screen. There we go. That's Score No Score. So Score No Score, it's a live betting app where you can bet in-game tokens against your friends on live sporting events. Right now they do basketball. I'm assuming not basketball, baseball and football. Baseball happened to have ended, so actually it's a perfect time to mention. Shout out to the Atlanta Braves. We used to be on the radio in Atlanta, and John, when we were on radio in Atlanta, we said, this Braves team, they're pretty good. They're gonna get better. And funny enough, now we're talking about them, and they just won the World Series. At the time of the recording, they just won. What was that, last week now?
Yep.
So shout out to them too. But Score No Score, so you can play against your friends. I mean, we're on there pretty often when games are going on, playing against each other. So you just bet, basically, will the team score or not? For football, before they hit the 50-yard line, will the team score on the drive? Yes or no? Pretty simple. It's a new app, so if you're playing, be patient. Understand it's new, still working out kinks, but pretty fun app. We have a lot of fun with it, and if you ever download and play, you might see us there, and you might have to play against us. And I'll warn you, I'm pretty good at Score No Score. I'm a pro at this already, so watch out. John, anything else you want to say before we transition?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more coming to the app. A lot of additions coming to the app, so you're going to want to check it out, stick with it. There's a lot of good things coming, so it's a lot of fun. And as always, they're always trying to find ways to add things on, so keep an eye out for that.
Yes.
And check out DBNA Television as well.
Of course, yes. But thank you to Score No Score and Eric for sponsoring us. And all right, John, you were talking about Jokic.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to start with.
So I'm curious, Eric, what your thoughts are on this little thing between Jokic and Morris, the Morris brothers. I just feel like Jokic is starting to become not a dirty player, but a little bit like Carson Wentz-esque in the mind, where he's starting to get a little bit soft, where people can get under his skin a little bit easier. People are starting to find out the blueprint on how to beat Jokic. It's mentally, because physically you're not going to beat him, but mentally maybe there's something there. Maybe that's his weakness. So what do you think about this whole situation? And then what do you think about what I just said?
Well, I don't like to kind of analyze two different sports because these athletes are doing things on a different level. Your football players are doing things one way, your basketball players are doing things another way. But when you get to the mental piece, John, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that because, like you said, Jokic is a guy physically, you're not gonna, you have to be a Giannis or someone of that level to be able to physically have that type of prowess against a Jokic. However, mentally, it's very interesting. You bring up people are figuring him out. It's one of those things. It's a chess match, if you will. And so when you feel that you have a leg up, if you will, on your opponent, then you can begin to focus on how can I win that chess match. Now, listen, it's the beginning of the season. Jokic and Morris and what went down, it's basketball. In the heat of the moment, things happen. Do I think it was intentional? I don't know. I've been on the court. So in the heat of the moment, I might do something that I might normally, that might be a detriment to my character. However, having played the game and knowing and understand the competitive nature that you play against the people you play against, sometimes things happen, you know?
I mean, you were against a Pat Bev shove on Chris Paul, right?
I was against that, but you know, again, this is one of those things where I got to see the whole thing from start to finish, how the game played out from start to end. I will say this, Morris is very lucky to have Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler don't give a damn. Jimmy Butler's a guy like, look, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And so I appreciate that.
Are you referring to the tunnel thing?
I'm referring to him mouthing to Jokic after the incident, letting him know, bro, we can handle this outside if you really want to.
Because you know what happened in the tunnel, right?
Okay.
I didn't know if you were familiar with, with the tunnel.
Yes.
Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think most people saw what happened with that. Most people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I look at it and I encompass everything. You know, I really try to take on things and try to look at both sides of the story. Shout out to my other brother named Jake. You know, he has kind of teached me, you kind of got to look at both sides of the tale here. So with regard to the situation as it is, I feel it is something that if it continues past this weekend, then maybe it's something we could really truly be like, okay, there's more layers to this. But I really feel by next week we'll be past it.
Well, this is the second time, because didn't it happen, was it last year in the playoffs? It happened as well, right? Somebody got under his skin and then same type of thing. But
that goes back to your point of the mental thing. You know, if people are figuring out that they can get to him mentally because they know physically they can't, you know, it's when we break down into the mental and emotional factors that we say, okay, you're being paid millions of dollars. We're on the outside looking in. But as those of us who have played the game of basketball and understand that when you're going to maintain course, if you will, because again, it's just the beginning of the season. They got 82 games, y'all. Like, this is something that I'm not really dialed in on. I know it because, like the three of us, we are in the sports media world, and this is drawn to our attention.
And I'm a Heat guy, so
I know you are.
I mean,
I know,
of course.
But to me, I feel like part of this, John, to be honest, I feel like part of this is clickbait. It's just something to keep us entertained because it's the beginning of the season and LeBron's out. So we can't talk about LeBron right now because he's sidelined for a week or so.
So in 3 weeks, when these two play again in Miami, do you think something happens?
I don't think so.
Because Jimmy Butler won't let him forget.
Oh, I know. But Jimmy
and the
Butler,
Morris brothers won't forget.
But Jimmy Butler will show his dominance on the court. That game is going to be a very interesting game to see. And you know what? In 3 weeks' time, I really wish I had the opportunity, because I would make that 3.5 hour drive down there to be a part of that, because I would want to see that. But you know, it's going to be a highlighted game due to what transpired. So,
I mean, I think maybe they'll exchange a couple words and that'll be the end of it. I'm not, in terms of physical altercation again, I doubt it. I kind of heard more or less what Jokic had to say, and he was basically like, it was a momentary lapse of judgment. That was more or less what he had to say was, I made a mistake. I recognize my mistake. I screwed up, but that's the end of it. And I don't know that he, at least on his end, wants to continue this. I think for him, it happened. I was upset. I was frustrated. Heat of the moment. I made a mistake, but that's it. And I'm just trying to move past it. I think that's kind of the feel I got from him. Now, I mean, he could have been just saying that just to say it, but it seemed relatively sincere. Like, yeah, I mean, he made a mistake. I mean, if you watched what happened, he didn't instigate. It was really, in terms of physical altercation, he got shoved hard and then came back at him, which doesn't make it right. But you know what I mean? It's, I don't want to say more justifiable, but he got so upset because somebody else had already done something to him to that degree. So he had that momentary lapse in judgment and said, all right, well, I'm going to retaliate, which you shouldn't.
Well, this is kind of,
he didn't instigate,
right?
So to me, that says a lot.
It's kind of like when Cleveland was able to do this to Draymond in the finals, right? That's what I equivalate it to, because they got Draymond to get his technicals, and he got enough technicals to get suspended, and then Cleveland was able to flip it around with Draymond out and end up coming back from 3-1 down. That's what they did. They got Draymond to take the bait.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what it is. They got Jokic to take the bait. Okay. They realized they could get him. They realized they could cause him to have a lapse of judgment and really see what kind of individual he was. But again, if we're still talking about this in 3 weeks' time, like if this is still one of the top headlines in 3 weeks' time, and I'm talking consistently, not like the 2 days before the game is,
Right.
then okay, yeah, it's gonna be a bigger blow up. But right now, it's a couple of days. Today's Tuesday, live here on Sideline Sports with the two of you. If we're still talking about this come Saturday, then maybe I'll be like, all right, let's kind of dig into this a little more. But by Saturday, I think it's gonna blow over because everybody's talking about college football and NFL anyhow.
Yeah, and you mentioned NFL. There is a lot to talk about here. John, I think we both agree. There's one thing we want to talk about first. This was a nightmare for the NFL. It's a nightmare for the Packers. It's a nightmare for basically anybody.
Well, it's getting worse.
I know.
It's not even getting better.
Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he screwed up so bad. And before we even get into it, I want to tell a very quick, funny anecdote. I was talking to my dad the other day when it first happened. He's like, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, I saw it. Of course I did. I pay attention. So I see all this stuff, but of course I know, because if anybody knows me, anybody at all knows, I am a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I respect his game a lot. I appreciate what he does on the field. He's one of the, in terms of just pure talent with his arm, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in that respect. I love watching him. He is.
And the second any big news drops, all of us are like,
of course.
Oh, this happened like the second in our chat, like the second it happens.
Oh, of course. But I love Aaron Rodgers. I always have. And my dad is a huge fan as well. And we were on the phone discussing, and he says, "You can tell this on the show. I know it's really funny, but he said it sincerely." And I was like, I kind of agree. So anybody that knows me knows I kind of, we joke, but it's kind of true. I have a little bit of a man crush on Aaron Rodgers sometimes. I'm a big fan. I really do appreciate him. But sometimes it's a little much. And we joke about it. But so he says to me, he goes, "Look, Aaron Rodgers is a great guy. But when he did this and when I heard what happened, I lost respect for him. But more importantly, I lost my man crush on Aaron Rodgers." And I thought that was great because, it's funny, but it's true. It's how a lot of people are feeling right now. And on a serious note, a lot of people are like, "Man, I've always really liked Aaron Rodgers. I've always enjoyed watching him. He's this great guy." And there's always been these stories that he's kind of a jerk, right? I'm sure we've all heard those stories that, and to me, they're just stories. They don't mean anything to me. I've never met him. I don't know. If I had an experience with him, I'd speak on it. But everybody's like, he can be kind of a rude guy sometimes. There's other reports that say he's the nicest guy. It goes both ways. But then this story came out, and I was like, "Man, are you serious?" I mean, when you're one of the top guys at anything, not even just in sports, you got to hold yourself to a higher standard, especially where he is, though, where everybody's watching him. I'm so bothered doesn't even begin to describe, because I'm fine if you're not vaccinated. That's a personal choice, and I'm not one of those people that's going to say you need to be. Fine. While I'm of the belief that you should be, everybody's got their opinions, and I believe everybody is more than entitled to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he blatantly lied, and he did. And he's going to make the argument that, or people might make the argument for him that he said, "Well, I'm immunized." He admitted today that he said, "Yeah, I admit that was kind of misleading." No, it's misleading. Somebody asks you, "Are you vaccinated against something specific?" And you come back, "I'm immunized." In the moment, you're going to think, "Yeah, he's fine." You look back at it now, it's like, "Oh, well, he lied, but he
here's the thing, Jake.
Entirely lie, and that's the problem."
You're missing one word in that whole entire thing. The question was asked, and he said, "Yes, I'm immunized."
Yeah.
So
you're right.
He
You're right.
answered the question with a blatant lie,
right,
and then followed up with some sprinkling of, "Let me show you I'm smarter than you, and I can get away with this."
Right.
I said what I said last night on the show, The Sports Arena. John came to me and said, "We have a thing called the smoking section, where we give everybody the opportunity to air out their grievances. And we are not politically correct when we say what we say. But we let everybody know this is how we feel."
Right.
And I said what I said last night, and I was very direct in my approach to him, and it has not changed in the 22 hours since last time I spoke about this man. My issue is the character. I think his character and his credibility are just damaged. Nothing that he says moving forward is going to be, we're just going to take him at his word.
Right.
We are always going to question how sincere, how genuine, how real is this? Or are you trying to pull another wool over our eyes? Because listen, I was fooled. I was duped. I was hoodwinked. I was bamboozled, the whole 9 yards. I took Aaron Rodgers at his word based on the man that he was. Like you, I don't have a man crush on him or nothing like that, but I respected the man for who he was, for his intelligence, and for how he played on the field. You know what I'm saying? And so when this happens, I does not negate that I still admire what he has done, not only in the NFL, but outside the NFL, because he's a very intelligent human being. But you blatantly lied. And then once you were caught, took accountability. No, it doesn't work like that. We were taught at a very young age. Tell the truth. Be honest. Be upfront. My mama used to tell me, and still tells me to this day, it'll bother me more if I have to hear the truth from somebody else than hear it directly from you.
I agree.
And go ahead, John.
No. Finish what you're going to say.
And I was just going to say, to finish my point, was that's the one thing that bothers me about this. Aaron Rodgers is an intelligent individual. I'm sure he has a very high IQ. I'm sure that, he is, he just has a certain intelligence and smartness about him. But to me, what he did was borderline narcissistic. It was chauvinistic. And I can't get behind someone like that. I don't care what your resume speaks of.
And I can only imagine the way you put it last night was just about perfect. Could only imagine if Alex was here to respond to this, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you would have, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers heard what Alex would have to say about this, I could only imagine. I mean, Aaron Rodgers there'd be no credibility. Nobody would even think about Aaron Rodgers after Alex is done with him. Like, that's how, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But for my money, I mean, like Jake said, it's not about whether you get the vaccine or not. It's that you're so smart and you're playing these Jedi mind tricks. You know what you're doing. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing when he said, yeah, I'm immunized. Come on, you know what you're doing. You're talking about how, even today, you were talking about your doctors, and then I believe it was Pat McAfee or somebody like that said, your doctors, are you talking about Joe Rogan or are you talking about actual doctors? Like, even Pat McAfee is starting to be like, come on, man. Like, Joe Rogan's not a doctor. These people are not your doctors. Like, why are you trying to feed us this BS of Joe Rogan and whoever else? Like, these aren't doctors. So why are we hearing about Joe Rogan and all this nonsense? Like, that's what Aaron Rodgers keeps doing. And it's 2021. Like, we're not dumb. We have the internet at the tip of our fingers. Like, we all can do all the research we want. We all know that he's BSing us. We've seen this enough, like Jake said, with the family stuff. And yeah, we don't know him personally, but we've heard it enough to know where there's smoke, there's fire. And he's burned enough bridges and relationships to be able to make somewhat of a judgment to where it's like, this isn't a surprise. He always pushes people away. He always, does this kind of nonsense where he tries to skirt around a question. This is who Aaron Rodgers is. It's who he's always been, apparently. And, I think we're all just sick of it. We're all just last straw, and this is it. I mean, we're done with him. I mean, I don't even respect the guy. Yeah, you're a great football player, but, what do I care? Like, oh, you're a great football player. What else? I mean, if you don't have character as a man, I don't care if you're Jerry Rice. If you don't have a character, then who are you? I don't care how good of an athlete you are. So that's how I feel about it.
I mean, I'll say this. What really I think bothered me the most was all he had to do was tell the team, look, for personal reasons. I didn't want to get the vaccine. He's been public. Believe he said over the weekend, he said something about, he's looking to have a family soon, right? And he says, well, I don't know how the vaccine affects fertility. Fine. That's whatever. That's your belief. That's what you're thinking. I'm not judging you for that. That's not the point of this conversation. That's not the point of any of this, really. That's how you feel. That's okay. He also is apparently there, and I don't know if it's real, if he's lying again, because we're talking about what are we going to believe from him. I don't know anymore. He claims to be allergic to some of the ingredients. Again, if that's the case, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care. That's not the point.
But it's always something conveniently
but
he
not
has
even that.
something.
But it's not even that. I don't care if he is or he isn't. That's not even it. All you had to do was just tell the team, I'm not immunized. I don't have the vaccine. I will go through whatever the protocols are to keep us all safe. And that's where I'm bothered.
It's not fair to whoever he comes in contact with.
Right. It's not only selfish because he's just lying, but he's putting other people in danger. And that's where I run into a problem. If it only affected him, I'd lose respect. I'd be annoyed. I'd be bothered. But if it's not affecting people around him, I don't really care, because only at that point is he hurting himself. And honestly, that's on him then. Exactly. But he's hurting his team. He's hurting himself. He's hurting his loved ones, possibly. It's just not. It's hurt. He could be hurting fans, right?
Well,
if he's doing stuff like the Lambeau Leap or any of that, and who knows, right? I mean, seriously, that's where I draw the line, because it's your family, it's your friends, it's your teammates, it's possibly those innocent people. It's not right. It's just to me, that's where I draw the line. If it's about you, I don't care, dude. That's your prerogative, your problem, not mine. But all you had to do was just tell the truth. That's it.
We had this conversation on Sports Arena before the season when the Vikings coach was fired, and I was upset by it, because I brought up the point of, why is a coach fired, but if a player does the same thing, he doesn't lose his job. It should be the same thing, and that really bothered me. And this is the same thing.
It is.
Why should a coach lose his job?
I agree.
But this is even beyond what I said before the season. This is beyond that. This is somebody didn't get vaccinated and they lied about it. Yeah. You don't get vaccinated, everybody knows about it's fine, but
and that's fine.
You lied about it. And coaches have lost their jobs.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen many coaches in college football, in the NFL. Many coaches are losing their jobs over this, but yet Aaron Rodgers is facing nothing but a slap on the wrist with a fine. That means nothing to a guy that's, beyond rich. Like, you give him a $10,000 fine. What's that to him?
You talk about guys that are unvaccinated.
Come on.
He just happens to be a guy that comes to mind because he's very outspoken about it. Cole Beasley. He's still playing.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that.
But you know why? He was honest about how he felt. He told the NFL, I'm not vaccinated. He's done whatever it is that they have to do. He's playing. And honestly, he's been fine.
Carson Wentz is the same way.
Right.
Kirk Cousins is the same way. They understand what the rules are in place. They understand that if they decide not to get vaccinated, and I'm very much on the same board as you gentlemen, what an individual chooses to do with their body is their right, is their choice.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I am vaccinated. And everybody, I tell people up front, listen, I'm vaccinated for 3 simple reasons. Number 1, I want to travel. Number 2, I have a niece who has a condition to where I needed to get it to be around her and be in her life. And number 3, to do this, to do what we love to do, to be able to go to the WNBA All-Star Game and the WNBA Finals, to be able to watch my brother Jon Shearer along with our brother Alex Fleming go to the Hall of Fame game, which I tried to get to myself, I had to be vaccinated. Okay, fine. So in order to elevate who I am, me, no one else, not you, me, that's what I had to do. Now, if I didn't have those things in my life, maybe I wouldn't have got it. Maybe I'd have been like, you know what, I'm gonna roll the dice, see what happens. But in order to be who I need to be and be the best version of myself, I had to make decisions. All Aaron Rodgers had to do was make a decision. Just say, I'm not. Say I'm allergic to some of the ingredients.
Exactly.
Say I'm starting a family. Say that, whatever. Just say that. Don't say, are you vaccinated, Aaron Rodgers? Yes, I'm immunized. Well, you lied. And for that, I'm questioning everything from this point forward.
And this is the last thing I want to say. I think what bothers me even more is the NFL's actions, their response. The team got fined, I believe, $300,000, and then Rodgers and Lazard, because they were at a Halloween party, I believe it was about $15,000 apiece, and that's it. No suspension.
No suspension.
Nothing.
None.
And
he's going to be possibly playing this Sunday against Seattle.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, to me,
I hope they lose every game moving forward.
To me, it's a bad precedent to send to the league to say, hey, you know what? Lie to us. We're not going to do anything because we'll just throw a little fine your way and you'll move on. Because to the Packers, they sneeze at that. They say, all right, fine.
So
we got away with murder, basically.
So what happens if another player does the same exact thing and then, and then they get caught like that? Do they get the same treatment or is it because it's Aaron Rodgers?
Depends on who they are.
John, I'll go one step further. You want to go down this pigeonhole? Let's go down this pigeonhole.
Yeah, because it should be fair. I mean, this isn't superstar treatment where you get a charge in the NBA. This is bigger than that.
Okay, so I'll go one step further with you. All right, let's take Khalil Mack for the Chicago Bears, a prominent figurehead in the Chicago Bears. What if Khalil Mack, we find out that Khalil Mack lied, and then all of a sudden we want to suspend him and he needs to be removed from the team? Can you imagine the amount of media that is going to be garnered around the fact that, so it's okay for a white quarterback to lie?
I think you'd have a strike.
But a black defensive end or a black linebacker does it, and we boot him out.
I think you'd have a strike. I think, honestly, I think that players would draw the line right there. And I think players would just stop. And I think there'd be a strike because if you set a precedent, not to interrupt you, Jake, but if you set a precedent where Aaron Rodgers gets away with it and then another player doesn't get away with it and Aaron Rodgers is white and that player is black and the world and the way the world is right now, I think that there would be a strike. I mean, there's no way around it. I think that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, I think if it was Aaron Rodgers and then a guy like, I don't know, some lower level guy, maybe a third string wide receiver, right? Maybe a third or fourth. You're less important. I put quotes around that. They're important, but they're not your top guy.
I know what you mean.
They're not your AJ Browns. They're not your Cooper Kupps. They're not your top guys.
So like Mike Williams or something. Say Mike Williams.
Let's take the Ernest Johnson of Cleveland.
There you go. Yes. That's a good example. And that's a perfect example of exactly what I'm getting at. So he's your third or fourth guy.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they suspended them. And it wouldn't be right. But you know why they would? Oh, he's not Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Oh, he's not your top moneymaker, so they don't care. Right. They only didn't suspend Aaron Rodgers, honestly, probably because they need him to go out there and play when he's healthy. That's it. And that's it. Nothing else. I don't think there's any other reason other than they know he's a moneymaker. And to me, it's absurd, but I think that's why they did it, because they need guys like Aaron Rodgers out there for their ratings. That's what they need. And you know what? Honestly, as silly as it sounds, I think they drum up more media by not suspending him. As crazy. Yeah. And they think about that stuff. I get a feeling that they think, well, how can we make this story even bigger? How can we keep it in the mouths and minds of the media longer? Let's not suspend him. Let's make our punishment egregious and completely unfair, right? It's not enough. It'll get people to talk. And they're right, and it does. And it's not the right thing to do, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if that's kind of what they're doing out there in the offices when they're having these conversations, and that's what they're saying. I wouldn't put it past them at all. I really wouldn't. Because it's all about money and views and clicks and all that. That's all they care about. You know that. We all know that. That's exactly how it is.
Exactly.
All right. So now that we're done with Aaron Rodgers,
he doesn't deserve more of our time.
No. What if you believe this is true? What is wrong with the Buffalo Bills? I mean, we have to ask because they don't look like the same Buffalo Bills as last year. I mean, you can't argue that they do. They don't quite look like that team that is just running people over and they're unstoppable. They beat Washington, Miami, Houston, 4 of their 5 wins. The only other one was a Chiefs team that is not playing like the Chiefs. They haven't beat a team with a winning record or even close to a winning record. And I know you play who you get, But the Bills don't look like that team from last year, at least offensively. Defensively, they look fantastic. But offensively, they just don't look the same, that same, like, unstoppable force. And I don't know what it is. It's like the Chiefs. I can't explain what's going on.
John, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with Buffalo. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing is wrong with Buffalo. Listen, this is a marathon, not a sprint. If you're expecting this team to maintain a la perfect record through the first half of the season, knowing that they're going to get the best from a lot of these teams, guess what? You're playing, it's fool's gold is what it is. Okay? Buffalo is built for the long haul. They are a durable team. Are they going to encounter teams that they should just run over? Of course they should, but it's the NFL. 3 simple words, my brother: any given Sunday. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Listen, so they start off week 1 with a loss to the Steelers. And everybody's like, oh my goodness, Buffalo lost the first week. It's week 1, y'all. People are still getting themselves acclimated to the system.
And before you go on, Eric, I just want to say the Steelers are not as bad as everybody makes them out to be. Defensively, strong team. And I think they deserve their credit. Offensively, they're not great, but defensively, they're a strong team. And I just wanted to, I want to put that out there because honestly, they lost. You're right. But they played a good defensive team. So Steelers deserve a little bit of credit. Not that you weren't going to give that to them, but just to put that out there. So
then to John's point, the next 3 weeks were pretty much preseason weeks because they stopped the Dolphins 35-0. They beat the Washington football team 43-21. They beat the Texans 40-0. And everybody's like, oh, here we go, Buffalo. Get the tables. Let's get it done. And then you run into Kansas City. Kansas City not playing like we expected them to play. Okay? Who are 3rd in the AFC West. Buffalo beats them in Kansas City, in Arrowhead. But you know why? That was a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year. So you know Buffalo had that circle on their calendar like we are not leaving Arrowhead with a W, with an L. And then what happens? They run into King Henry. And King Henry's like, you know what? We're going to show you what King Henry can do to that Buffalo defense. And it was a close game. It was 3 points, 34-31. Come on.
Yeah, it went for them 4th and inches at the goal line.
Yeah. And they should have won that game. At least forced overtime.
But they didn't. All right. Then they got their bye week. So you figure, all right, let's regroup. Let's pull the wagons back together and let's show them who we about. So what do? They play John's Dolphins again. 26-11. And that game, honestly, was a lot more than the score is showing.
But John, they were up by 6 late in the 4th quarter.
Right. And then Buffalo finally woke up and realized, hey, this is our divisional rival. We need to make sure we get this W. So then, still chilling down here in Florida. You know what I mean? Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence isn't the number 1 pick for no reason. As the young man gets settled in under the Urban Meyer offense as the head coach, he is showing and reminding people why he's the number 1 pick in this past year's draft. But Jacksonville's defense was something that we never gave enough credit to. And when a man who shares the same name as the Buffalo Bills quarterback, the only difference is one has a middle name and one doesn't, and he picks you off, he sacks you, and just gets in your head.
And recovered a fumble.
And recovered a fumble on you.
Thank you. And recovered a fumble on you. I mean, come on. Let's show love to Josh, no middle name, Allen, for a moment, because he was the reason that Josh Patrick Allen was unsuccessful. Now, John, you're speaking to the Buffalo offense not being that team that we thought them to be or we expect them to be. John, that's on us. We put that precedent on them. They didn't put it on themselves. We did that. So if we are going to put that on Buffalo and say what's wrong with them, I'm going to tell you right now, ain't nothing wrong with the Buffalo Bills. They're still going to win the AFC.
You're not concerned
East.
That they can't run the ball?
No.
That Stephon Diggs is taking a step back this year from last year like I had suggested he might?
Nope. Not worried at all, John.
Okay.
The panic button is still locked away in the closet. I can't even find the panic button for the Buffalo Bills right now.
Because they get the Jets twice. They haven't played the Jets yet. But other than that,
They get the Jets twice, the Patriots twice.
the Patriots games are going to be hard fought.
The Colts, the Saints,
Hard fought.
the Bucks. We know that's probably going to be a loss there. The Panthers, that's a win. I can honest to God, John, looking at the rest of their schedule. Jets, Colts, Saints, Patriots, Bucks, Panthers, Patriots, Falcons, Jets. I'm telling you right now, what is that? 8 games? 3,
4
7,
of them are easy.
9 games. Out of those 9 games they still got left, John, I fully anticipate Buffalo to go 7-2.
Really?
Yes, sir.
You said Saints, Bucks.
They got
Patriots
the Jets, the
twice,
Colts, the Saints,
Colts.
Jets twice, Patriots twice, Colts.
I don't see
Saints.
them sweeping the Pats.
So, John, I want to say this real quick. So you're saying their offense is not good enough. Now, it hasn't been the full season. But
it hasn't been that, haven't seen that gear from them yet.
But listen to what I want to tell you, because I found this interesting. Yeah. So last season, they had a great offense. Their average points per game through the whole season was 31 points per game for the Buffalo Bills offense. This year, through about half the season, for them, it's been 8 games because they had the bye week already. They've been averaging 29.4 points per game.
And I think that their defense is. So if you play volleyball,
so the point I wanted to make is they haven't been as dominant at times.
Or explosive, if you will.
And that's fine. But offensively, they're still consistent in terms of the fact they're putting points on the board, which is what matters.
Right.
They're offensively still going out there and doing the same thing. It just doesn't look as exciting. It's not, John, as we like to call things, it's not as sexy, right? But they're not going out there hitting those deep home run balls every play. They're not, Stephon Diggs is not going off for 200 yards a game. He's going to have, and I understand, yes, he's regressing a little bit, but at the same time, we talked about this months ago now. I said, when you have a huge season like that, to regress is a relative term. I
tried to point out the statistic history of regressing from those numbers. But
hold on. But what I told you was he would finish with 200, 300 less yards. But that's also because last year was such an insane season.
Right.
It wasn't a realistic pace to keep up for him. For him to, I don't remember what he had last year, but I know
he had about 14 or 1,500 yards. I said he would get about 11. And that's what he's on pace for.
I agreed with you. But I don't think that as regression. I take that as last year was a huge season for him where he really boomed, and now he's going to come back to earth and produce at the level that you would normally expect a player of his caliber to produce at, which is around 1,100 yards.
But if your best receiver is giving you 300 yards less, and Buffalo had a lot of bounces, a lot of breaks last year, it was a magical year for them. And whenever you have a magical year,
offensively, they didn't regress offensively by any means because they're scoring not even 2 full points per game.
Right.
Less.
But what I'm saying,
there's not a real difference yet that I'm seeing.
What I'm saying is the defense is a big part of that. I'm not taking away from the offense, but the defense being the number one defense basically in every statistical category this year is really setting that offense up with great field position a lot of times. What they did against the Dolphins, the defense.
That's
you know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing, but I'm saying the offense doesn't look like the same offense last year. It looks like they've taken a step back.
Right, but they don't.
And that's a concern because they weren't good enough. They weren't good enough to make the Super Bowl last year. So
but they beat the Chiefs this year. So
everybody's beat the Chiefs this year.
Not everybody. That's not true.
Everybody's beat the Chiefs.
But the point is they improved and they beat the Chiefs this year. I still believe the only thing that I really believe the Bills are lacking is a real great run game.
They're 0-2 versus teams with winning records. 0-2.
Hold on. What I was going to say, overall, the Bills' offense, I'm not worried about them. My only concern still stands as that run game is it's serviceable, like we talked about last time. The Titans now have a serviceable run game with Adrian Peterson, but it
does not scare you at all.
And I agree, it doesn't scare me, but it's serviceable. It does enough. But that's what they're lacking. I still agree with that. But I knew that coming into the season, and their points per game is about the same. Their defense is playing lights out like they did last season. I have to agree with Eric. I'm not worried, all because a lot of these these things that you are saying you're worried about, all the things that you're worried about really look about the same to me. They may not look as explosive, but I didn't expect them to be as explosive. I understood that was understood to me that might not repeat, but they're getting the points on the board, which is what I care about. I'm not.
Isn't that a concern to you, Eric?
No, not at all, John.
No, that they weren't good enough last year to make the Super Bowl, and now
Listen, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, and the rest of this team, Cole Beasley, and the rest of this team understood after last season, after losing the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs, who would then go on to the Super Bowl. They understood they had to make adjustments. They understood they had to elevate. And they understood that it was time for them to be who everybody needed them to be. Now, John, to your point, they're not explosive. Like Jake said, they're not slam dunking, hitting the home runs. Diggs is not blowing up fantasy points. But you know what? Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Cole Beasley, they don't care about them. They care about that ring. Because for how long? I mean, hell, take the word Bills and break it down. It is an acronym, which stands for Boy, I Love Losing Super Bowls. Okay.
I love that.
You have to get
Eric,
that
I'm
monkey.
so glad somebody else knows that joke because nobody ever knows that, I feel like. I'm with you.
You have to get that monkey off your back. And last year they had an opportunity to do that, and they were unsuccessful. So, yes, right now, John, Buffalo Bills, they ain't sexy, okay? Buffalo Bills ain't glamorous. But what the Buffalo Bills are is first in their division and have an opportunity, like I said, over the next 9 games, because they play everybody in the NFC South within these next 9 games. They play 2 of their divisional opponents twice, and they play the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, so I'm saying they sweep. They've already swept Miami. They're gonna sweep the Jets. They may split with the Patriots, but I'll go on record as saying they sweep the Patriots. I say their 2 losses come to to the Saints and to the Bucs. They'll go 2-2 in the NFC South. They'll beat the Panthers, they'll beat the Falcons, they'll lose to the Saints, they'll lose to the Bucs, and they will win the rest of their games. As currently constructed, they're sitting at 5-2. They will finish 12-4 and have hopefully
5-3. Because they also Titans, Steelers, and Jags.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And they had their bye.
Thank you. Yes,
5-3.
Okay, so fine. So then 12-5. My apologies. So 12-5. And I'm hoping they have the number 2 seed. I don't, because when we get to our Super Bowl picks, I still have another team that I still feel, and I said this last night, is going to be the number 1 seed, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like they are going to be the number 1 seed because you continually push the goalpost back, telling Lamar that he's not going to get to it, yet he continually finds a way to do it. Just a quick seg, but
so that transitions us into. I mean, we're halfway through the season basically, and I don't know what everybody's Super Bowl picks were before the season. I couldn't tell you what all of our picks were for Super Bowl. I don't remember, but at this
before the season,
yeah, I don't remember any of our picks.
The only one I know,
I think I'm probably gonna still pick one of my teams the same.
The only one that I know, because I have it written down and I keep it with me, is our boy Alex. He said last March it was going to be Tampa and Buffalo, Super Bowl 56, SoFi Stadium.
I mean, he called Tampa last year. He called Tampa making it and winning it last year. He was the only one. And
he said they're going to run it back. That was his thing. As far as I go, and I'll be really quick, my 2 teams, and I said this last night on the
from right here and right now. Who
right here, right now? Yeah. Shameless plug from my show.
Halfway through, yeah.
I say Baltimore and Arizona. The Ravens and the Cardinals. Birds flying high in SoFi Stadium.
John, what do you got?
Man, I like the NFC. I feel like for some reason it's going to be the Rams. I mean, because the Rams just with Von Miller, it's hard to overlook that when he gets healthy. So I think it's going to be the Rams, and I'm going to have to go on a limb and say maybe the Colts. I mean, I said they're progressing last night. I said they're my team that's increasing the AFC, and the Titans lost Derrick Henry. I mean, I don't know what Carson Wentz is going to do, but when that line's getting healthy for the Colts and they can run the ball, they got the formula, as Mike Cartenuto likes to say in January, you have the formula to run the ball and play defense in January. You have the opportunity to win. They'll win despite Carson Wentz. Let him game manage. I think the Colts could be the dark horse. I know that sounds crazy, but Frank Reich is a really good coach, as you know, Eric.
He's a great coach.
All right. Super Bowl picks. I think I probably said this before the season. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure I picked out of the NFC. It was either the Rams or the Bucks. And I'm pretty sure I picked the Bucks, and I'm sticking with the Bucks. Simple. I mean, I've learned one thing over a year of doing this show. We had a betting show in Atlanta. We were on the radio, and I learned one very simple rule. You just don't bet against Tom Brady. And you know what? I've learned my lesson. I bet enough games saying Tom Brady's going to lose this week. No, I'm done. I'm done betting against him. He is an ageless wonder that I'll never understand. I mean, he's thrown more touchdowns in his 40s. He's only 44 than he did in all of his 20s when he started. I believe at 24 was his first season as a starting quarterback. He is an anomaly, and the defense is incredible. And, you talk about a run game, right? They have that. Leonard Fournette has really shown this year. He's been great. And if he's not, give it to Ronald Jones. Trust Ronald Jones. He's a good running back. He's a great number 2 to have. And out of the AFC, man, it is. I feel like the AFC is really a lot harder to pick. There's just because I feel like there's so many teams to me that haven't proven themselves yet. I would love to pick the Titans, but they don't have the run game to truly, in my opinion, support them. I'm going to have to go with the Bills. We were talking about them. That defense wins championships. I know they don't have the best run game, but they have decent running backs, and more importantly, Josh Allen can really run the ball. And I got to tell you, you don't need running backs when you have Josh Allen who can sling it with his arm and run it with those legs. I mean, he's got it all. I got to say, I think Alex had a good idea with that one. I think he had something going when he was making those picks, and I believe that is pretty close to what I said at the beginning of the season. I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure those were definitely between Rams and Bucks and Bills. I believe I at the very least had those all in my top 4, and I'm pretty sure I'm still sticking with it. I may have even predicted Bucks Bills back then, and I'm if that's the case, I am sticking with that. But the AFC has just been the AFC to me is tough. I think if the Titans don't lose Derrick Henry, it might be a very different conversation, especially the way they just played against the Rams, because defensively,
that's the way I feel.
They really proved me wrong that they could beat a team like the Rams, right? I didn't think they had a chance, and even though their run game wasn't there, they played really good defense. I mean, and I know, John, you wanted to talk about the Titans, so we'll talk about them, as I figured it was a good segue. But
yeah,
man, that defense showed up against the Rams, and I was really impressed. I mean, the run game wasn't good. I mean, I'm not going to
know what
sugarcoat
Adrian
it.
Peterson is. Listen,
right?
We know what
right.
he.
And they didn't have a lot of yards,
Peterson
but man, they played well. They played well, though, and I can't take anything away from them.
But they didn't need any of the offense to win that game. Matt Stafford threw the Rams out of that game.
But I think that's
he had a Detroit moment, if you will. I mean,
yeah. He went back to being Carson Wentz-esque or Matt Stafford on the Lions-esque.
Oh, yeah. He had a Matt Stafford Detroit Lions moment. He thought he was back at Ford Field and just said, oh, let me just throw it up in the air, and whoever gets it, gets it. Listen, I take nothing away from Tennessee Titans. They are
so what do we make of them?
What do we make of them?
Yeah. What do you make of them?
They're a team that is trying to reestablish their identity. They're a team that's trying to remind people, hey, we're first for a reason, and one man does not make our entire team. We saw Julio Jones. Okay, we saw A.J. Brown. So we know the capability of these wide receivers. And Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill. But I want to show some love to the coach, because Mike Vrabel, who is probably the only successor to come from the Bill Belichick tree, is actually playing like an NFL actually coaching like an NFL coach needs to coach in the AFC. You must dominate by any means necessary. And just because your workhorse, your back, your king is out, you need the rest of your army to step up and say, we're going to hold it down in the hopes that our king can return in January.
Absolutely.
And lead us to the promised land. So I take nothing away from Tennessee.
So
I look at them, John,
yeah,
and Jake, and I'm saying to myself, okay, right now, you have the opportunity because you are the lead dog in the AFC. Everybody else is looking at y'all's back. So find a way to keep that momentum going. If you can do that, you have a legitimate shot. Because if the road to the Super Bowl has to go through Nashville, I fear that some teams, a la a Kansas City or an LA Chargers, or even my pick of Baltimore, might not be able to get it done.
So you said, right? We know what Ryan Tannehill is. He's Ryan Tannehill. What is Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry? Because we know what he is with him, but we don't know what he is without him. So what is he? Because you said Ryan Tannehill's Ryan Tannehill.
He's still a leader among men. He's still a man that is able to sling the ball, and he is able to be a game manager. So what I see in Ryan Tannehill is he recognizes that this is his moment. This is his time. The weight of the world is now on his shoulders. Before him, Derrick Henry, they carried that load. Derrick was like, look, bro, give me the ball. I'll stiff arm Josh Norman people all day long. I'll run up and down the field. You want me to throw one to a tight end in the end zone, bro?
I'll do it all.
I'm your boy. I got you. But now it's Ryan Tannehill's time to be like, okay, thank you, Derrick. Now let me go do what I need to do. You rest. You heal up. My brother, I got you. I'm going to hold the fort down and make sure that our army is still aligned. So when it's time for you to make your return in January, if we can get you back in January and we can make this run together, oh, it's on and popping.
Oh, you stole my thunder. I was just about to ask you that. You stole my thunder. I was going to ask you if the Titans get Derrick Henry somehow back in January, which there's reports that he could come back. Are they the favorite in the AFC?
They're going to be the top dog. John, if they get the number one spot.
Regardless of seed, like, are they the scariest team in the AFC? Because everybody is like,
no,
everybody in the AFC right now, you don't know what they are. But the Titans look like the best team with Derrick Henry. Like, nobody looked better than them so far in the AFC this year.
You wonder who my scariest team is? My scariest team is the LA Chargers. Because Justin Herbert is only getting better. And that brother's in his second year. That is the scariest team. The most dominant team to me, the team that I think is going to take it all, like I said, Baltimore. The Chargers are my scariest team. Tennessee right now is the lead dog. Those are the three. That's your hat trick. That's your trifecta right there.
No
Buffalo?
Bills?
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I forgot about Buffalo. My bad. So we'll run with the four. Buffalo, Chargers,
that's your square.
Baltimore, Tennessee.
And
that's my box.
But none of us mentioned the Browns. I mean, the Browns are getting healthy. Nick Chubb, I know he has COVID this week, but hold on.
I don't want.
OBJ is gone, so maybe that's a turn the corner type of thing for the Browns. Absolutely. They've been banged up. Maybe when they get healthy, Kareem Hunt eventually comes back. Nick Chubb, comes off of COVID and finally is able to play, consecutive games without something bad happening to the guy. Maybe the Browns are a dark horse, scary team in the AFC when they finally, because they just went to Cincy and put it on them.
John, pump your brakes.
I'm just asking you. I'm just curious.
I think them beating Cincy says more about Cincy than it does about Cleveland.
He's got to beat, first off, he's got to be Patrick Mahomes in crunch time. He's got to beat Justin Herbert in crunch time. He's got to beat Lamar Jackson in crunch time. He's got to beat these quarterbacks and beat these defenses. Forget the quarterback part.
I'm talking about the Browns. I'm not talking about Baker because we know he's going to game manage and they're going to run the ball.
The Browns themselves, they lost OBJ. Does that make them better? Yes. Are they going to make a run this postseason? No.
There's too many other good teams.
You don't think Nick Chubb and when Kareem Hunt's healthy that is a scary tandem in the playoffs?
Probably the best 1-2 back set. But
I said the same thing before the season started.
And Dearness Johnson, he ain't no slouch now either.
Not at all. Not at all. But the Browns, no. They'll get to the playoffs. Yes. They will get out a wild card weekend, and then they're going to hit one of those 4 teams that I mentioned. And when they do, that's when I need to see Baker Mayfield and the entire, so talk about the entire Browns.
Yep.
I need to see Myles Garrett do his thing. I need to see the best running back tandem in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb do their thing. I need Jarvis Landry to go out there and show out and be Jarvis Landry. Okay? And then on top of all that, I need the cream of the crop, the number 1 guy, to be able to lead the charge down the field. If you get the ball left, I need you to pull a la Jake, since you talked about it. I need you, Baker Mayfield, to pull a Tom Brady. 30 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts. You have to go 75 yards for the game-winning touchdown. Do that for me, Baker Mayfield. And maybe I might consider you to be among those that I consider to be the next tier up. But until he does that, no. They'll get out a wild card weekend. When they get to the divisional round of the playoffs, they're done.
I kind of agree with all of that, actually.
Yeah, Jake, you want the last word before we wrap it up?
I'll make it real quick. I mean, honestly, my thought was the same. You're right, John. Yes, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. I said that before the season started. There is no better tandem, and that's one of the reasons I said the Browns were one of the better teams coming into the season. And I said that that's a scary tandem. Good luck stopping that. And when they're healthy together, I've been right. And I think anybody that said the same thing was also right, because they're a great 2-headed monster. But Baker Mayfield, he just hasn't impressed me. Jarvis Landry, OBJ. Yeah, I know OBJ is not on the Browns anymore, but the point was too many drop passes, not enough from them. It felt like too much on just the running back. So I'm not worried about them. If Baker Mayfield starts playing better, my tune may change. But for now, I think there's too many other good teams with better quarterback play, not necessarily better quarterback play that's not costing them games, not helping them win, right? That I would trust them over that. But that's all I got. So that is about it. We'll start with Eric. Eric, where can they find you?
Oh, as always, Monday and Wednesday nights, Sports Arena, 10 p.m. Eastern, on all my social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Jake, we got to have you on, brother. When you coming on the show, man?
You just tell me when you want me to come, and I'll be there.
Fair enough. Also, filling in for our brother as the host of Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, Thursday nights, 7 p.m. during the NFL season. We are taking off this Thursday for Veterans Day. But then we're back at it. And either you on or you off. You can usually find me at an Orlando Magic's game, Tampa Bay Lightning game, WNBA Chicago Sky World Champions. Thank you very much. Find me during their season. And yeah, man, it's great. Thank you again for having me on. Always welcome. And much love, gentlemen. Thank you. I appreciate you.
John, where can they find you?
Yeah, Fox Sports 1340 AM, Cardiac Kane and Fin Fanatic on Fansided, Sports Arena Monday and Wednesday nights as well, 10 Eastern time, and Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, because we never forget Alex Fleming. Of course, DB&A Television, Sideline Sports, every morning, 4 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
Check that out on there.
Start your mornings with us. Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, Blue Hawks 13 on Twitter, and that's about all the places and the faces that I got.
Oh, John mentioned a lot of our Sideline Sports stuff. You can find here on Sideline. You can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. You can just look me up on any other social media. Just look up my name. You'll probably find me if you really want to. More importantly, as you'll see across the bottom of our screen right below Eric, where can you find Sideline Sports? Well, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter, and the handle for that is Sideline Sport 1, YouTube, Facebook. That's just Sideline Sports. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all your podcasting sites, DB&A Television, like John said, working with Eric with this Eric, but another Eric on Score No Score. Basically anywhere you look for sports stuff, we're there. Just come find us. Anything else before we go, gentlemen? Any last words?
Yeah, cranberry sauce is overrated. I don't eat it at Thanksgiving.
Why do you have to ruin everything?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I knew you would hate that. I
Of
just had
course
a
I do.
feeling.
Of course
Okay,
I
so
do.
wait, when we talk cranberry sauce, are we talking like the can, or are we talking the actual cranberry?
The whole 9 yards.
Oh God.
John,
It just doesn't belong at Thanksgiving.
Everybody, we're not going to get into this conversation. Have a good one. I'm sorry.
Tune in
John.
next
Had
week.
to ruin
Tune in
that.
next week.
Thank you, gentlemen.